Okay, today we're going to add some improvements to the radar system. I'm actually going to be building off of a tutorial by Askadev. He did a great tutorial on the radar system, but there was one quirk that I honestly don't know what it is, and if someone knew what it is, I'd love to hear an explanation. I will put the fix. I know how to fix it, but I don't know what's actually causing it. And then the other thing we're going to do is, if you notice, the actual radar background turns and it will move relative to, there's like a little bit of some clouds there kind of to represent terrain, and it moves around as you move around relative to how much you move in the world. So we're going to go over those changes, and we're going to go over a tag system that lets, like, this guy's red and he's red on my radar, yellow, green, and you can use those to represent allies and stuff. And I also had the player show up as green. So let's go over the normal stuff. We spawn in the HUD. The radar HUD is pretty simple. I also have my crosshair on this UI, and then this is the kind of embedded UI element, and this is where we'll actually do the work. Firstly, I'm just going to go over the enemies. I use a structure. Structures are pretty simple. All I have is a name, a color, and an active. And then what you can do once you have this structure, so this is a radar user-defined structure. In my enemy, this really shouldn't be called enemy since I'm using it for allies and stuff too. In the construction script, I created a array width of this structure, and I put one for every type of color I want. So if it's an enemy, I want it to be red. If it's an ally, I want it to be blue or green. And if I wanted it to be an objective, I'll make it yellow. Or if it's selected, it'll be white. I don't have any selected though. And then I just check that structure, and I will add to the tags, which are just these tags here under actor tags. And you can call that up by just typing in tags. Tags is actually kind of a reserved, so you get tags right there. And based on that, I set this dynamic material instance, which is fairly just a simple, set color. It's orange by default, but I set it to whatever the linear color is associated with that tag. And if you notice in my scene, I use this to kind of easily specify, right? So I just click it, hey, make this one active. I want this to be an objective. And if you notice, I unclick this. The one downside of this is you make sure to select only one. If you select more than one, it will just select whatever's first. So don't do that. Of course, you can manually specify the tags for everything, but I just wanted an easier way to specify how things are tagged. So that's what I do in the enemy. In the actual radar system here, this is pretty similar to the Askadev tutorial. I just call it, I do set color and opacity in under pre-construct, and that's just so in my HUD I can change this to whatever I want. So if we wanted it, I just make it white, and then the color and opacity will basically tint it to whatever we want. Make it purple or pink there. And then event construct, we are just setting a timer by event, and I'm just updating the radar function right here. And we just wanted, I'm calling it 30 frames per second, which is 0.032. That seemed like enough of an update. I didn't need to update it every tick. That seemed like overkill for the radar system. So this is normal. We're doing the sphere cast. The thing that we add to this, so we clear the children like we would normally, is this system up here. Is we're basically looping through. I also added that same struct variable here. See, with all the tag names. It's not linked or anything, but it's just the same variable because I want it to associate the same way. And what I do is I check the actors that I'm picking up in my sphere cast, and I see like, hey, is this tag here? If it is, assign it a particular color for the little radar blip which if we go to the radar blip, it has a similar event pre-construct, set color and opacity, and this is white by default. You could probably change the material as well, but I'm just using the UI. Either I think are fine. And we're just setting that under here, whatever the tag gets set to. The other thing to note here is, so you add to canvas, and you can actually just do set position directly from here. I think there's another node they use. For some reason, this is the weird one. You have to add -50 and -15 to get it in the right spot. And I've literally spent hours trying to figure out why those values matter. I've scaled my UI. Like, if I just spawn something into the canvas, into this canvas at 0, 0, which, like, look, if I have it up on the top left and I put it at 0, 0, it should be there, but it ends up being like down here. And I've replicated it in multiple engine versions. Again, just for the life of me, I don't know why it does that, but it seems pretty consistently fixed across multiple. I've like tried recreating it from scratch and would get the same result. But apparently, one way to fix it is add -50 and -15. I don't know. I don't know why those values are important, but basically I moved it until I was trying to like get it to 0, 0 even without the offset, and those were the values that put it there. So yeah, we're doing that. We're getting the distance. I've been doing an inverse transverse location. I think you can just basically subtract these vectors. That gives you the same result. This just logically made a little bit more sense to me, and I also was just messing around when I was trying to debug because I was tearing my hair out trying to figure out what was actually causing that problem. And then the additional kind of section here, that like getting the background of the radar to move, you can see it a little more prominently there when I'm on a dark screen. It's kind of subtle. This is just, we're messing with the material. So in, let's see here. Oops, update radar. We do grab the get dynamic material. So really the only exception there is for this. Where is, here it is. We just make sure this is a material instance so we can change that. It might not actually need to be a material instance to change it, but, and then we are, if I jump to the actual material, here it is. It'll be on the screen in a moment. So we have the texture coordinates, and then we just add the offset to the UVs and we scale it. We have to divide, or I guess kind of divide by half. It's, you know, multiplied by 0.5, which is the same thing. And this one's -0.5. And that makes it move correctly. You have to be careful when you scale this in order to make it line up with world space correctly. Otherwise, basically, it has the same, kind of the same problem actually with my compass video, where like the enemies won't actually stay in the right spot and they'll kind of move around on the background. But if you notice here, where the enemy is on the background is locked because it's moving correctly relative. And that's because we divide our scale and we also divide the offset. You have to kind of do both of those as you move around. If you divide just here and not here, you'll get that issue where the texture moves at a different pace as your character. Okay. And then this is normal. This is what they have in the Ask a Dev tutorial. This little section here, though, lets you move the background. of the radar. If you wanted it to be more complex than that, then you're honestly probably better off just using like a mini-map system with like an orthographic camera. But this is, I think, a nice compromise. It's fairly lightweight and gives the impression of kind of moving around. So let me just jump back to this system, because this is kind of the bread and butter of the Keller system, as long as your enemies are tagged correctly, right here. Then this you can set the Keller, and then you just set the widget because of this pre-construct right here. All right, I just wanted to make a quick little video on that because just trying to contribute to elements that I know a lot of people kind of want this in their radar system. They want the ability to kind of tag enemies and Keller them how they want, and it's actually not that hard to do. You just have to make sure to manage your tags correctly and set up your radar to recognize the tags it finds and then Keller the little blips accordingly. All right, catch you later.